I first started off, I found out about it from Coach Tom.
Mm.
He was the one that started talking to me about it. Also refer to him as Coach Tom because that is how I know him from the nonprofit organization that he runs. I coach for him, so I have a lot of respect for that guy. As far as expectation, I would say, just like anyone else, probably that hears about it, a little skeptical, but with the same notion, I was intrigued enough to want to know more about it. I didn't have any formal therapy before meeting Coach Tom. I originally first started seeing him for my sports needs, and it was more on a needs basis. I had performance issues, especially at tryouts. Games and things like that didn't bother me as much. However, when I needed to perform in front of a scout or a coach to prove myself was when I really had an issue. And generally, I thought Coach Tom would talk to me about it, and try to go down of why this is happening to you.
Mhm.
And he took it a whole different route. He was talking to me about the tapping stuff to do, and honestly, I just looked at him like, what are you talking about? Or to talk to yourself, saying something like, even though I am nervous right now, I still know that I can perform and put on the best show. So it's those little things that he says that were odd to me, and it's not what I was expecting at all. At least from what I hear, what therapy is supposed to be like. They really did help. I remember very vividly. I had a tryout with St. Louis Ambush. It was an indoor professional team, and as skeptical as I was about the tapping stuff, I was insanely nervous for that tryout. For some reason, extra nervous. I was sitting in the stands, and I remember at that time my mom actually came with me because she said, "Hey, I want to see what this team is like." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, you can come with me. I don't care." And I see the players getting ready, and I just have this thing before tryouts or games. I analyze the opponents, and I think what that does to me is it makes me a lot more nervous. It's a really bad habit because I'm like, oh, that guy looks good. Oh crap, I don't know what that guy just did in the warm up, but he's gonna be a force to reckon with. But I was sitting on the bleachers, and I genuinely just remembered what Coach Tom taught me about the tapping. I wasn't perfect with it because I haven't fully practiced it before. However, I did it enough to where I physically felt like my nerves calming down. So by the time I walked onto the field and I was ready and I touched the ball, I was insanely calm. It was bizarre in a way. And it wasn't until about halfway through the tryout that I realized I am no longer nervous. And genuinely, I had a huge smile on my face just playing. It's the most bizarre thing ever. They're like, I'm not just gonna sit here and tap and it's gonna work, is it? It does. I believe the biggest thing is conserving my energy throughout the day. On simple terms, and what we all say every day, we say these kind of things to each other. Pick your battles. Or they say, it's not worth it. It's not worth your time. But what does that really mean? And once I talked to Coach Tom about it more, and once he really relayed it out for me a lot more concise and a better way for me to understand it, I realized that it meant if I don't give my attention to this, then I can have the energy to give my attention to what is important to me throughout the day. So a prime example for me right now is work. So this is actually my first time having a completely full-time job where I have to physically be in the office from like 8 to 5. I really hate being constrained in just one space the entire day. I do have a coworker in there that is just negative no matter what. He could have probably $1 billion and he would still find a way to not like that $1 billion. I'm being dramatic with that example, but it is true. If I hadn't talked to Coach Tom about any of this energy things, that would have bothered me so much on a daily basis. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying that it's not bothering me. However, it is bothering me a lot less, and it's giving me a lot less stress. And it's to the point where I'm able to do my job while ignoring him completely. Because I truly understand, I'm like, what you're doing is on you, and I'm going to choose to not focus on you right now. I'm going to turn my attention to the things that are important to me and to the company, and that's where I'm going to choose to give my time to. In turn, what I get out of it is that when I leave work, I'm not grumpy. That's the biggest thing for me. When I leave work, I still have the energy to want to go make, it's simple things, but I have time to go make myself dinner and then go to the gym. I don't have to skip it out because I am so drained from this guy at work. And obviously just work in general as well.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like I'm not completely drained from it because I am choosing where to give my energy out. It's going to sound very cliche. However, take it seriously. Be open-minded. That's my advice. Truthfully. In the beginning, have a lot of questions. Whatever questions you may have about it, ask Coach Tom. He is a very fair guy, and he's really looking out for your best interest. And he's insanely passionate about this stuff, and he knows what he's talking about. If you give him your attention, be open-minded about it, and ask the questions that you have, you'll get the answers. Worst case scenario, it's not for you, and I still think that's fine. And he probably feels the same way. When he told me that, it was a shock for me, because I believed that I was being honest with Coach Tom with just about anything. Like you said, not to get too personal, it was just a time that I went through a pretty rough breakup at the time, and I went to see him, and I think it was like the second time that I saw him in regard to the breakup. He told me it might be best for me to find someone else that could be better equipped to help me with this. And I think his reasoning is because him and I have a lot of history to where he may not be able to effectively help me through that specific issue. And truthfully, now that I'm a year and a half out from that, or a little more than a year and a half out, I appreciate that he did that. It did push me to go and try to find a therapist, and that's exactly what happened. I went out. There were a lot of companies that I reached out to, actually, and the ones that got back, they just gave me the list of their therapists, and I read their bio, and I just picked someone that I thought would be a good fit, and thankfully she was a good fit. The best way to put it, he doesn't talk in what is just in front of you. What I told Coach Tom when he started talking to me about all the energy therapy that he's doing, whatever you go through, almost anything in life that you go through, there's a logical answer to what you can do about it. What I told Coach Tom is, for the longest time in my life, it felt like there was something missing. Everything that I went through, everything that I thought about, and what I'm looking out of life, and when I'm talking, nothing against my friends, they're lovely people, but when I talk to them, we're talking to each other about like issues or what we want to do, it was just all like the logical stuff. It's like, okay, I get that, but there's something else that's out there. And that's what Coach Tom focuses on. It's like, what is that? It's like you have your puzzle with him, right? And he's got, it's not just one piece, he's got multiple pieces, but it's like all the corner pieces. And that's what he does. He kind of brings it in and just connects it. And it just makes a dot connect all the way through, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on here. Like the easiest phenomenon that we're all familiar with, you start thinking about a red Kia, that's all you're gonna see on the street is a red Kia. The question is why, right? And I was like, oh, well, because you're focusing on the red Kia. So yeah, but now suddenly they're all popping up all the way through. But then after some time, they go away. Like, what happened? That's the type of things that Coach Tom can explain and talk to you about. So obviously, one of the terms for that is just law of attraction. And that is something that really has helped me calm down a lot. Now, when we say things like that, he's not telling you to go sit on the couch, pop your legs up, and things will come to you. You still have to go out and seek it and do the work to try and get it to come to you. However, you just have to believe that it will come to you. But all I can say that is it works. Mostly how concise he is and how direct he is. I don't like it when people beat around the bush, especially in the line of like being a therapist. Do know that you have to gauge your clients, but I really appreciate how direct Coach Tom is. Oh, yeah. A lot of people are like, the truth hurts. It does, but it takes a lot less time to process. And Coach Tom really helps you go down that path. For me, the biggest reason I sought out therapy was because of family. Communicating with my family has been the hardest part of my life through and through. We all understand the dynamic of like the older kid is the one that like does the fighting with the parents. The middle kid is like the quiet kid, so on and so forth. We've all heard it. Our dynamic's a little different. I have an older sister. She is not the one that did any of the fighting. I feel bad for it right now. However, in a way, I'm glad that I did it with the family because it set my brothers up for success to try and talk to my parents. I didn't know how to communicate any of that stuff in a more sophisticated manner towards my family. Now that's because whenever I brought it up, they would get defensive, they'd get angry at me, and they would start yelling. And I thought matching that energy is what worked. It does not. Recently, because Coach Tom talks to me about the energy and how to really spend your time with people, I'm not looking at my mom and be like, oh, screw you, you're mad right now, I'm walking away. However, when she starts to get worked up, I genuinely am just as calm as I can be. It has really increased my communication skills with my parents mostly. And I honestly am very, very grateful for that because at this point, I'm not saying we are perfect. However, I can go to my parents with an issue and I would know how to tell them without being sarcastic or without being mad which was all my defensive mechanism to try and get them not to get mad at me, but it just never worked. It sounds like a 5-year-old kid saying it, honestly. But all I want is to have full autonomy on the choices I make in my life. And my parents, a lot of those times, made those choices for me. I realized in college, when I was sitting through my classes, and they were actually classes that I was very passionate about at the time. And then at that moment, I realized that throughout 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade of high school, every single profession that I thought about, which is neurosurgeon, pediatrician, physical therapist, an architect, you name it, all the engineering and doctor stuff, I only said those things because my parents wanted them. It was not because I wanted them. So for me, freedom means I'm making my own choices. I'm in full control of my own choices. And also, to sound like another 5-year-old kid, I just want to do whatever I want. And yes, I really do recommend him. You guys heard the testimony earlier about how he told me I should go and see another therapist. That alone speaks volumes about a person. And you said it off camera. He could have easily I'm just going to keep taking your money. I know I'm not helping you as much. However, he is after your own good. And he does want to help you, and he does want to do right by you. And they all sound cliche and simple. However, it really is just the truth. Give you guys a little quick story. Don't do that to him, okay? But I did do it to him. Something happened to me in the middle of the night. It was freaking 12 a.m. And I went and banged on his apartment door because I was just like, I don't know where to turn. I was like, if I go home, it's not going to go well because my mom's going to ask me questions. I will fly off the handle. And at the time I was dating someone, and I said the whole problem started with her anyway. So my friends that were close to me were all away. They lived in different states. And I genuinely was like, I don't know where to go, dude. I don't know what the hell's going on. The man got up and helped me. He started talking to me. He helped me calm down. I was pacing around in his apartment talking and like yelling. And then he just kept talking to me, and it really just calmed me down. So I can't even begin to understand what I can do to make up for that night. It is 12 a.m. and the man had work in the morning, and he helped me. So like I said, I have no idea what I can do to make it up for him. But if that alone doesn't tell you what kind of person he is, I don't know what will.